Weekly crypto news. This is the third week of October, so let's get right into it. So, of course, disclaimer, the Hero Live Crypto Show and Crypto for the Rest of Us do not provide financial investment, tax, or legal services. This is for education only. All right, let's get into some market news today. So, first thing we want to talk about right off the bat is this CoinTelegraph slash market manipulation that went on. So, if you haven't heard yet, first thing we saw on Monday was a tweet that came out from CoinTelegraph that basically said that the SEC has approved BlackRock's ETF application. And the market went crazy. It was about 8 minutes. Bitcoin took off 7.4%. And it's interesting the timing here. It looks like within less than an hour, CoinTelegraph came out and said that this was fake news, and that I don't think at first they said who did it or what happened, but apparently later on in the day it came out that a intern apparently or somebody on staff mistweeted this and accidentally tweeted it. So yeah, I don't know. There's speculation that maybe this person or persons had a position in the market and took advantage of it. We don't really know. The problem with this is that, people that had shorts out were taken out for no reason at all. And, this is market manipulation. And some people probably made money. People lost money. And again, for no good reason. So there's speculation also that, this type of event is exactly what the SEC could use against the application of a Bitcoin ETF, because the market is too volatile. It's too much market manipulation. Well, the reality is this happens in traditional finance too. So I don't think they could use that excuse. So I don't know. It's not good for the market, but it does show you the pent-up demand for this Bitcoin ETF. And some people are calling it a rehearsal or a dry run, right? I mean, we know Bitcoin's going to pop when it officially happens. And it'll be interesting to see if it just continues to go up or if it pops and then settles down a bit. But there's a lot of speculation still that it will happen before the end of the year. So we'll just have to see. All right, so here is a chart that basically breaks down all assets, all world assets, and for market cap. And of course, gold is, the big guy out there with over 12 trillion in market cap. But look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin now is about half as much as silver, which is a big deal. These are all the assets in the world. So it's very possible that we're going to see Bitcoin overtake silver maybe next year or the year after in this upcoming bull market. So quite interesting. You look at all these tech stocks up here, Apple, Microsoft, Google, huge market caps. Tesla's catching up for sure. And then good old Bitcoin. So good on Bitcoin. Here's an interesting chart that looks at the asset returns since COVID QE. So quantitative easing or money printing, basically the Fed injecting liquidity into the system. And you can see that crude oil just went crazy, over 400%, as this liquidity was injected into the system. But Bitcoin, almost 200% return since the COVID times started getting better once they started to inject this cash in there. But it just crushed the S&P 500, crushed real estate, and really crushed gold. Interesting to see that gold doesn't really move on big liquidity like that, but Bitcoin certainly does. So the point of this slide, while I bring it to you, is that we know that the Fed is still up in the air about tightening interest rates. They may still raise them, but sooner than later, they're going to have to come off of this, go to quantitative easing again, print more money, and when there is this flood of liquidity into the system, Bitcoin and crypto does really well. So I think we're all waiting for that. But we've got so much good news on the horizon because we've got the Bitcoin ETFs. We know that Bitcoin's gonna pump after they are approved, some or all of them. We've got the Bitcoin halving in next April. Just a lot of good projection for Bitcoin. So not financial advice, but I'd be getting into Bitcoin if I were you. All right, let's take a look. Next, we've got the Bitcoin halving. So this is the countdown, 168 days. So it's almost a half a year now for the Bitcoin halving. Typically in this scenario, we see about a 6 to 18 month delay in the past before Bitcoin took off and really went parabolic after these halving events. But this year is so different because, like I mentioned before, we've got all these other events that are happening all around it. So really bullish for Bitcoin, for all of crypto. The question is when. Right now, it's still in its tracing zone, back and forth, 28, 26. So we'll see what happens. All right, I wanted to bring this up. So this was reported this week that Israel ordered a freeze on crypto accounts in a bid to block funding for Hamas. So I just wanted to sort of set the record straight that this is a misleading article. Let me see if I can share. Let's see if I can share my screen here. I think we can do this here. Actually, let's do this. I think I can do audience window. No, that's the one before. Okay. Okay, so it's not happening. All right, so get rid of that. Basically, what I wanted to point out was that crypto is not a place where criminals or terrorists put their money. Now, people think it is because in the early days, before people understood what crypto and Bitcoin was, which is a blockchain, which is a decentralized ledger that cannot be touched or altered and is totally transparent, which means anybody can go in there and take a look at the blockchain and look at all the transactions. So why would any criminal or terrorist put their money or transfer money using crypto? Because it can be traced back. Law enforcement has gotten actually really good at tracing back illegal money, criminals that are using crypto, because it's pseudonymous, which means that there's not a name necessarily attached to each transaction, but you can look at the transaction, you can find out where it came in and out of the blockchain, and law enforcement is really good at tracking that back. So what that article was about to show was that, yes, there had been times where some accounts that were tracked back to Hamas did have some Bitcoin coming into it from different places. But a couple of months ago, they basically put the word out to their donors to stop using Bitcoin to help fund them because it could be traced back. And then you saw this chart that showed within the last couple of months, there's hardly anything in any of these Hamas wallets that they were able to trace. The point being is that crypto is not a good place for terrorists and for illegal activities to be. And it's just a myth that's still out there. And articles like this are misleading. And, I don't really want to get into a lot of war talk on this channel and terrorist kind of stuff. But I thought it was important to point this out because this is typical of what happens is this reporting. And it leads people to believe that crypto has terrorist activities and illegal money. And it's just not true. In fact, that's one of the nice things now about bringing new people on is that there is not illegal activity. Well, let me put it this way. There's not very much illegal activity that's inside crypto now because it's so traceable. So if you're planning to do anything illegal, stay away from crypto because you're going to get caught. And most criminals and terrorists know that now. And so you don't have to worry about that anymore. All right. Moving on here. All right. So this chart really speaks for itself. And it really, again, shows why I think people need to be thinking about their retirement, thinking about their savings. And of course, I don't think, crypto there's not a better place than crypto in my mind, but even if it's not crypto, you got to start saving for retirement. So this shows that 49.5% of families have zero savings, zero. And so you can see that if you're in the top two categories, you need to start thinking about this now. in whatever you want to invest in. But like me, I woke up in my 50s and I realized, oh my God, I haven't saved enough. And when I looked around at the options, crypto was really the only option for me because I didn't have as much time left. And I knew I could make better returns in crypto than I could anywhere else. And in the early days, I wondered, well, is it safe? And it is safe. Like I mentioned before, there's not a bunch of criminals, using crypto. And also, I've figured out a way to find investments in crypto that are pretty darn safe. And once you get involved in it, you'll see that they are safe. But you can see down here that there are, 5 million or more. There's 0.1% that have that, and this is anything. So, 5 million in retirement is about what it might take to live comfortably these days, or a million or two, and people are so far away from that. And I'm not saying I'm in that category yet, but I have a plan. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that if you're not saving yet, you need to start. All right, another slide about flows in and out of crypto. Again, I just want to show that people think that crypto is down and it's boring and that there's no reason to be in crypto. Well, it has been boring because it's going sideways, but the smart people know that you got to be in it. You got to still be in crypto when it takes off, and it's going to be taking off because of all the things I've mentioned before, but it's starting. So we've got flows in here. So Bitcoin led the way with 16.4 million in total inflows last week, bringing it to a yearly total of 206 million for the year of inflow into Bitcoin. Solana and XRP are the second best altcoin inflow. So money's starting to come in. We'll track this weekly and see what's happening. But in the last couple of months, you can see there's inflows have been out. Doesn't mean that crypto is dead. It just means that people have been putting their money on the sidelines because it's been kind of boring. Nothing's been moving very much. And that makes sense. But now they're starting to get back in because they know that things are starting to move. And even though we are in a bull market in crypto, we're not in the fun part of the bull market yet. We're still in this baby bull, if you will. And even though a lot of the countries are in recessions and the stock markets aren't doing that great, but crypto overall is in a bull market. So stay tuned. It's going to get even better. All right. So, of course, the top three cryptos are, of course, Bitcoin. Binance is hanging in there. It's been up 3% this week, along with Bitcoin 3% this week. And Ethereum's been flat. And it's just interesting that Binance, with all sort of the troubles that Binance is having, or just the uncertainty right now, that the Binance coin, BNB coin, at 212 is hanging in there. So, of course, the Bitcoin price here is 28. That was, I believe, on Wednesday or so of this week, but it's floating anywhere between 26 and 28. That weird little spike up to 30 when we had the fake news, but it's moving sideways still, but up 3%. So that is good. Now, here's a chart that is interesting. It's a Glassnode chart, but also from our friends at Invest Answers that put the little bears on there. But it basically is showing that you've got the Bitcoin market cap versus the valuation. And so if you look at this chart, you'll see this is the total of what people paid for Bitcoin versus the price of Bitcoin in the past. So this is the price at which they bought in. So most of the time, the price of Bitcoin is higher than what you bought. And of course, this is the profit that you're going to realize. But we know that the price of Bitcoin can fluctuate up and down. And so sometimes you're going to be in a losing position. So what this chart shows is the times when people were in a losing position, and you've got the little bears there. So the first one you can see is this 11 months, back in, what do we see? So this was 2015. And so, yeah, there were 11 months where you were in this bear market where, you might have been losing money on your Bitcoin. But then, look, boom, 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 up, up, up. You would have been doing good. Then we hit another little dip, another 4 or 5 months in 2019 where you would have been losing. And then up, 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 up. And we can see, that our latest little bear market that's happening in 2022 was about 6 months. But you can see now that we're out of that bear market and we're moving up again. So I think it's interesting that you can see this just shows you what the Bitcoin/crypto market, how it works, and that you've got to be in to take advantage of these runs. And so now is the time, folks. Now is the time because it's going to start running. You don't want to wait until its price is too high. You want to get in now when it's relatively low, because we know that Bitcoin is the highest returning asset amongst all of the assets over the last 10 years at least, if not more like 13. So you've got to be in this market. And when it goes up fast and it goes up high and then it drops back down. It's a very volatile market. But if you've got to be in the market to take advantage of this. And so every time the market does go into these bull runs, the lows when it comes back down are always higher than the previous bull and bear market cycle. So it's definitely trending up, folks. So this is a good chart. Now here's another one by our friends at Invest Answers that shows how much Bitcoin is being hodled. 13.5 million, which is an all-time high, where we've got these whales and a lot of people are holding on to their Bitcoin. So why? Well, they know that it's about to pop. They know once these Bitcoin ETFs happen and the Bitcoin halvening, they want to have their bags ready to invest. So they're hodling it. They're not selling it. They're ready to get it in the market and invest it. So a lot of them have it in their wallets, just sitting there. Even some that we're not tracking here are in stable coins ready to get in. But most people are in the market now. And that's what I'm saying. You got to be in to take advantage. And we're seeing that an all-time new high. Now, the other important point about this is that this means that there's not a lot of liquidity out there. There's not a lot of Bitcoin out there being sold because so many people are hodling it. And that means that the supply is shorter. So again, this is, people say all the time, well, this time is different. But this time, there's a lot of different things. As I mentioned, Bitcoin ETF, the halvening. And now you've got this limited supply. Less supply now than ever before during the bull run times before. So we know that less supply, high demand, prices rise. So again, good news, good news. This is another slide that's talking about the NASDAQ and Bitcoin correlation. We're seeing now that they're correlated back to being correlated again. You can see down in here, they kind of split up, but now they're back correlated. So, a lot of people want to think that Bitcoin is a hedge against the traditional markets. There's certainly some aspect to that, but generally, as the markets are moving, so is Bitcoin. So stock market moves up, so does Bitcoin. Now, specifically the NASDAQ, because that's where all the tech stocks are. So you've got tech stocks being a little more high risk, and of course, Bitcoin and crypto is considered high risk, so they're going to move together. The S&P 500 is flat, as we saw in this last chart, compared to crypto and Bitcoin, which is way up. So we'll see how long that Bitcoin and the NASDAQ are correlated. I think for a while, they definitely will be. All right, altcoin season. So are we in altcoin season yet? So altcoin season is when a lot of the alternative coins besides Bitcoin start really moving up. And typically what happens is you see as the bull market starts, you got people that move into Bitcoin first because that's the granddaddy, that's the blue chip, that's where most people are going to start. And as they start making money, as the market goes up, they start pulling some of that profit out and putting them into other cryptos. And so we'll see a lot of these altcoins move up. And so that's called altcoin season. Now, the thing about this is that Bitcoin is so big, market cap is so big that it takes a lot to move the market. So it may go up, one or two times in a really good bull market. But you've got these little altcoins that have a very small market cap. So it doesn't take a lot of movement into that altcoin to become a 10x, a 50x, a 100x. So this is what a lot of people try to do. They try to find these altcoins that they think will pump hard during a bull market and ride that up there because you can get a 50 or 100x. So you can buy a lot more of these altcoins and make a lot more money relatively than you can like in a Bitcoin or an Ethereum. But you want to be in all of them, right? You want to be in the Bitcoin because you're going to take advantage of that, but it also is going to rise all the boats with it. So that's why this is interesting. So, and again, the top performing ones. So we're seeing that here's Bitcoin. So what have we got? We've got Solana, we've got BSV, which is a Bitcoin fork, and Chainlink. They're both all leading the way of some of these alts, and then you've got a lot of them that are still down here. So we're not in alt season yet. Bitcoin is still dominant, and there's a few that outperform them, but for the most part, Bitcoin's where the action is right now. But have you picked your altcoin? Do you know which of them you're going to bet on as the market moves up? I've got a couple in mind. We'll see what happens. All right. So this is the market cap. So again, BSV, the Bitcoin Cash fork, is up 19% this week. But it's down for the year, 2%. And you've got Stacks, which is up 10%, and a whopping 156 for the year. But the big news is Solana, up 9% this week, but a strong 144% for this year, up for this year. So Solana, to me, is the big mover this year. After FTX, after they got caught up in the FTX scandal, because FTX had invested a lot in Solana, they've really been moving. They have a lot of developers. There is a lot of talk about different businesses wanting to do business with Solana. So in the layer one wars between Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, Avalanche, a lot of the others, it looks like Solana is the one to bet on now. So I haven't had put anything into anything other than Ethereum as far as layer ones and Bitcoin. And I finally did a couple weeks ago put a little allocation in Solana because I do think that it is the winner right now in the layer ones. And then I also like a lot of different layer twos, and we'll see what happens again as the market moves into the bull. But right now, of course, the losers here, we've got Mantle down 11%, 30 for the year, Atom down 6% this week, and 31% for the year. And then rounding out is Avalanche down 4 and 14%. So those are the movers this week. All right, this is an interesting chart. This looks at the layer ones and layer twos and how are they moving and what's going on with them. And this chart is tracking the daily average users. So how many people are using these layer ones and layer twos? So we've got still Ethereum is the 100-pound gorilla still. It's got over 326,000 daily active users. Solana now is coming in second in the layer one race with 256,000 daily active users. Then Avalanche with just over 29,000, and Cardano with 26,000. And Sui, another layer one with 22,000, and Phantom is bringing up the rear with 22,000. So that wraps up basically the layer ones. Now in the layer twos, we got Polygon, which is still in the lead. 329,000 daily active users. It's still the big guy in layer two. They've been around longer than most of these other layer twos. But Arbitrum, 107,000 daily active users, which is good. I really like Arbitrum. We'll see what happens in the bull market with them. And also Base. So Base is the new layer two from Coinbase, connected to Coinbase, and it's just taken off. So it's already beating out Optimism and a lot of these other layer twos that have been around a lot longer. So they've got 88,000. So interesting. I like looking at this chart because, again, with adoption of the layer twos and layer ones, you've got developers. How many developers are on these blockchains developing new apps? So and then also how many daily users. So not sure I have a chart this week on developers. We'll see if I can dig one of those up, because those are two of the main areas that you want to look in when you're looking at what of these layer ones, layer twos that you might want to invest in. How many people are developing on it? How many daily active users? So that's a good chart. I like that one. All right. So, this is a little bit this is just on Solana, but these app developers are really flocking to Solana. So, again, like a lot of really good news for Solana, and it is really climbing up. Look at all these developers. It's beating out most of all these other layer twos for sure. So good on you for that. All right. A little bit about liquidity. So again, we're waiting for global liquidity to start pouring into the system. But this chart shows that actually this week it actually trickled down just a little bit in the blue here. And we've talked about this, that, when the Fed, they're eventually going to print the money, get the economy going again. And when they do, we're going to see all assets move up, but specifically Bitcoin and crypto. So this is a good chart to keep track of. So that's it for our news this week, but we always want to end on some fun memes. I just crypto is filled with the awesome memes, and you can't take yourself too seriously. So, I love this one. It's like, hey, I need some new toys. That's what most people are thinking. And let's say, look at my shoes, but I need more Bitcoin, right? Who needs shoes? Who needs stinking shoes? Therapist says, so why can't you sleep at night? Well, Bitcoin never sleeps. Love that one. Yep, I bought in the perfect time, and then the death candle. So if you've been in crypto a while, you've seen this. And yeah, you spit out your cereal because you're like, what? And I bet a few people on this fake news that happened were freaking out. If you were holding Bitcoin short, you probably spit your cereal out. All right. Well, thank you for watching the Crypto Hero Show. Stay tuned next week. We're going to have some more crypto news. So stay tuned to the channel, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Jay Scott signing off.